Hi, how are you? I don't know that I was planning to come on today and talk about this, but I was posting a, or I was sharing a post from a friend of mine, Donna Porter, who is hosting a conversation on Friday night on her Facebook page, Friday tomorrow, the 26th at 7 p.m. And it is the next in a series of conversations that she's been having since George Floyd's death. The first conversation she had was a conversation with her sons about how they feel about being a black man in America. And then the following week, she had a conversation with her daughters about their fears and their concerns for raising their children, for how they live their lives. Last week, she had a conversation with her white friends about their feelings about race and what they have learned and what they have lived with in their life and how their relationships with black people have been. And tomorrow, she is having a conversation about a conversation with four interracial couples about their marriages, their lives, and what that has looked like because of the intersection of race in their marriages. And I was just curious because I didn't know. So, as you know, I dig, I research, I want to know. So, I was curious because I live in the state of North Carolina when interracial marriage was made legal. Um, and so I looked and I just searched for when did interracial marriage become legal in North Carolina. And what I found was, first of all, the word that was created um, to talk about interracial marriage, and that was not for North Carolina. That was for the world, and that word is miscegenation. And so it comes from the Latin words miscere, to mix, and genus, which is type, family, or descent. And it has been used to refer to cohabitation or intermarriage between racial groups. And it was illegal to intermarry for several years, uh, decades, centuries. Uh, we may as well just tell the truth, for centuries in America. And different states changed the laws at different times. So there are 9 states, in my research I found this, 9 states that never had any laws about interracial marriage. And those states were Alaska, Connecticut, Hawaii, Minnesota, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Vermont, and Wisconsin. Um, and then 11 states repealed the laws before 1887. Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, um, Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Mexico, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island, and Washington. And 3 of those states um, changed the law before they became states. 14 states repealed those laws between 1948 and 1967. So, you know, there's a jump here from 1887 to 1948. That's a long jump. Okay, so those states, and some of these states, it says here, included Native Americans, Filipinos, Asians, East Indians, and Native Hawaiians in the laws, as well as black people. So those 14 states between 1948 and 1967 were Arizona, California, Colorado, Idaho, Indiana, Maryland, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, North Dakota, Oregon, South Dakota, Utah, and Wyoming. Now, for those of you who watched the movie Loving, about Richard Loving and his wife, and I cannot remember her name off the top of my head, they tried to get married in Virginia, and it was against the law, and they finally did get married, but they had to, they got married, and their case went all the way to the Supreme Court and was finally became the law of the land in 1967. These states, these 16 states that I'm getting ready to read to you, never changed their laws. So, in other words, the laws are still on the books that prohibit interracial marriage today. Um, they were overturned by the Supreme Court ruling in 1967. And I'm ashamed to say that I live in one of those states. But these are the 16 states: Alabama, Arkansas, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. All southern states. Um, so I I hadn't no I didn't know I was going down that rabbit hole, but I did, and I will go down a little further. This has even given me different terms that were used to represent different degrees of blackness, and I'm going to tell you that on my paternal, not my maternal grandfather's side of the family, my mother's father's side of the family, his father was a slave, and he married, his first wife was a white woman, and they had 12 children, and I'm descended from that part of the family. His and I just bought a book and have not, well, I didn't just buy it, I bought it when it first came out, but there's a book called They Were Her Property, and it is a book that talks about white women owning slaves, and that in some cases how their treatment was of their slaves. It is a research book, and also one of the things that I've learned as I've been delving into genealogy is that oftentimes white women, because they couldn't own property unless they were married, would marry, and I guess it just wasn't challenged. They would marry men who worked on their farms or on their property so that they could own property. And I'm not talking about own the men as property, but physically own property in their area. So that's another rabbit hole that I have to finish going down. So I just wanted to share what I'd learned with you today, because I was talking about these conversations, and I know that those have been hard things to have. My brother has been involved in interracial relationships, and married to a white woman at one point, and the horror stories he would tell me about how people would treat him were terrible. And I've posted on my Facebook page as well about experiences that I have had, or one experience that I had dating a young man in Atlanta, and he didn't want to tell his family. So, I mean, he didn't want to be bothered with me because I'm not something to be hidden or somebody to be hidden. He would have been very sorry. So anyway, that is my story today, and I will be sharing more with you as I go along. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you later.